You look so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, we're already recording, aren't we?
Yeah, they can be cut down.
Okay, so now we can start. Okay.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Sue. How are you doing?
Hi. I love seeing the paintings behind you, and I just want to tell people that you just showed me a sneak peek of some of the images of the book, and I feel completely like blown away. I feel like I just went also just the time of all, from the late 50s up into just a few years ago, seeing the breadth of artwork and so many of the images. You even said yourself that you hadn't seen a lot of the images. And so I'm kind of tongue-tied right now because I'm still processing and I don't have the book in my hands yet because it literally just came out. So we're recording this and the Portrait Society is going on right now. And so this is the very first time you were selling the books and you sold out and you should have brought 1,000 and you would have sold out. And
Yes, yes,
so,
you.
um, and so you're selling them through your website. So what is your website?
Richardschmid.com. And so you'll see it there. Yeah. And they're going to be available, I believe, May 20th, mid-May, but I
Okay,
believe
so
it's,
people can order them now, and then when they're shipped
well,
out.
they can't order them now. They'll have to wait till May 20th, unless you're at the Porch Society. They will take your order and do it for you. Yeah,
Oh,
we're unable to take pre-orders at this time, but come May 20th, you can go online and
okay. So people just have to put in their calendars to on May 20th. Hopefully your website won't break.
exactly. And they can be on our newsletter and we'll make sure everybody
Yeah,
knows.
that's great. Yeah, because then you guys have more books in the future too, and you have lots of videos and you have lots of prints. And so yeah, people should be on your newsletter to learn about what's happening. And so I guess I'm just going to ask a few questions, and you can tell me, a few things. But Richard worked on this book for many years, and then you took over, and it's a passion project because you knew you had to finish it. And so, is there anything like I would love people to know how hard it is to make a book. And that I assume that the average person just goes, oh, well, they have all these images in a file. And, she just clicked and dragged them and put them in a folder and gave them to a printer. And, but no, it's years of finding the images, some that had to be digitalized, working on them, getting perfect. And then something that people don't realize is that once you get those images to the printer, you might have to do multiple tries to get a good image, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot to it. I mean, just putting the book together. And this one's very different than all the rest of his. It's kind of like you just saw it. Each time you turn the page, you're like, you know, or another drawing, or oh my gosh, a different technique. Or he just he was just there's just so many different technique and mediums in here. And each time you turn the page, it's just another aha moment. And so the way he arranged everything and finding all the images, he had just gotten done with my still life art. And so he went and found all these other images, decided which ones to put in, and then deciding the order and the story he wanted to tell. And it goes from the 50s to 2021. And it's just what he writes about is always so interesting and really tells his story. And like you were seeing too, you get to see his early works and how he kept experimenting and making things everywhere in the painting so interesting. But as for putting it together, just putting it together and doing all the writing, trying to find sections and how you wanted to proceed through the book uh, takes, like you said, years. And then to take it to production, because there were a lot of uh, images from the 50s and 60s, which we really had to try to find, or if we had them here, which we do have a great collection, we were able to make it as close as possible to the original. That's what we're always looking for. So, yeah. And I wanted to ask you, since I always think of you as the person who loves Conte and drawing, what did you think about his? all his drawing and drawing techniques.
Well, definitely. I remember when I first started school and I saw a card that had one of Richard's, what I call painting and drawing media, these monochrome kind of Conte drawings with brush. And it moved me so much. I think that it's always been in the back of my mind. So whenever I think about doing a drawing or a pastel or Conte, I always have him in the back of my mind and how he masked in and how he softened his edges and how he used his brushwork. So, and you were saying too, like he loved old photographs. And I loved old photographs. And so I think it was like this sort of kindred spirit when I would see the work, then you recognize it and you go, wow, I love that too. And here's a master painter doing something that, I just would love to emulate, and we were talking about the fact that now, of course, Richard, early on, he'd be influenced by certain artists from the past. He'd take a little kernel and then make it his own. And then through the decades, he would change a little bit and change a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just like us artists, contemporaries, we would see Richard and we would say, oh my gosh, I love the way he would pose a model or his lighting.
Yeah.
And so I had mentioned to you in one of the paintings that I remember vividly seeing a girl model kind of posed to the side and the way he did the lighting and the way he had still life objects in front of her. Now, of course, I was like, I want to try that. Now, my painting and my setup is not an exact duplicate, but it was like I was just so inspired by that idea. And so then I'll take that little bit and then I'll make it my own. But we all learn from master artists. And this book, um, it is like it's hard to describe because there is such a variety of artwork from drawings, charcoals, watercolor, gouaches, um, landscapes, figures and scenes, nudes, portraits. I mean, it really is amazing. And I just know that there's going to be more books in the future, but I don't think I can't wait to see this book. And I just wanted everyone to know about it. And yeah, and I
And, and you said something really great because Richard would always say, don't be afraid to learn from the masters or from each other. That's, so there's room for all of us. And, you can see, like we were saying, we could say, oh, that's when he went to see the Mancinis. He went all the way to Italy. And you could look at the year, yep. And you could see when he was trying to learn from them and then incorporated um, and then you incorporate it, and then from your heart you take what you want and then put your own spin on it. Yeah,
yeah.
it's really neat to be able to see uh how he kept learning in different ways. Yeah, especially with that page with all the Contes going across and the one with the oil monochrome, how he was making that background interesting even in those days and experimenting.
I
Yeah.
know. I was also telling you, I can't wait to tell students to like, once I get the book, to show them and study how he would, one value would go right into another and would go into another and then go up behind the hair and up to the top of the page and not looking into shadows, also just leading us where he wants us to look and not over explaining, just really editing like a poem. And that's something as artists it's hard to teach because we learn, maybe we all become a little too literal, meaning we want to show every single thing. And when you look at a Richard Schmid painting, it opens your eyes to go, oh my gosh, wait,
Yeah.
he's not showing me everything, but it's all I need to see. And almost like, thank you. Thank you for not over explaining. And it's refreshing. Yeah.
That's well put. It just sparks our imagination.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was telling you too that there's so many places where he does that, where he takes chaos, all these things, and he makes sense out of it with using the values, like that puzzle piece. And I just remember, when he would set up a model, and behind it he'd have all these different color draperies or even patterns in them. I thought, how's he going to do that? And yep, he would incorporate that, but not, he would use what he wanted to take from the background to help say what he was saying in the model. And
Right.
that took a long time to learn. How do I do that? And you can pull the colors, you can pull the values, however you want to do it. And you can see that throughout the book. It's kind of like with this still life book, you can see um, both of them, seeing where, how could he do this foreground, or this person on the bed and all this stuff. And he was just so good at um, making it simple in his head and being able to do it because he could do it quickly also, by simplifying
I
it.
don't think we'll ever be able to explain it. I mean, it's like, a poet or a songwriter or anybody who, it's almost like it drops down into them. I mean, you can't explain it. You just appreciate it. You're just
Yeah,
grateful for it. And then you can just revel in it and go, I always feel like, the enthusiasm of seeing something so beautiful will trigger almost like a genetic thing in me, hopefully. It will open a door, it will turn a key so that I will recognize something incredible. And then my cells will go, well, you have that in you. Now you just figure it out. So
yeah,
it's kind of like, that's why we can't explain how he knew how to do it. But I mean, it's compelling and we just want to keep looking at it, but it's hopefully unlocking something within ourselves. Um, yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Anyway.
and I think you were saying too that you can even copy one,
Mhm.
can't go to a museum, you can
Right.
copy it and have your own aha moments. Oh, that's the way he did it.
Right.
That's a lot of times how you learn, by copying paintings or setting up something similar.
Exactly.
I always say you can do your homework, set up something similar and learn how to do what he does. And one other thing, we were talking about the backgrounds, just a wall, just a white wall, how
Mhm.
he would make it interesting. And each really accomplished artist could do it differently. And the way he did it was just quite amazing. Yeah. A lot of it was even just his surface
Mhm.
and dry paint or dry brush, or he was so good at uh, um, all the different techniques, all the way he used his tools, brushes, palette knife. And I would always say that his paint and brushes were like his dog Hans and his dog Wolf, obeyed him completely, just, you know,
Only sometimes I don't think my brushes are friends with me, but it's true. It's like he seemed to just
he
know
really,
exactly what brush will do what and how it will affect on the surface and just not too many brush strokes, limited. Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just, that's just so true. And yes, and then throughout the book, I remember you saying, and just amazing his range. Some would be sketchy and some would be totally finished.
And
And then he,
that's also a great lesson. I was saying how sometimes when I teach, one of the number one questions is how do you finish something? And it can become kind of a frustrating question because I understand where it's coming from, but there's just no answer. And so when you were looking at some of Richard's work, and I don't know, is the word vignette, is that something you guys would use or
I,
describing something that has a lot of mystery and what you might call an arm left undone, where there's just a sketch or a line or brushwork where it's suggestive but not told everything. How do you describe paintings like that?
don't have to look up the definition of him yet,
I
but I
know.
believe
I'm always curious.
maybe,
Like, am I saying it
I
correctly?
think even that can be just a head without a finished background. And
Right.
I think that's what that means. But how he knew, I think he always asked himself, what am I trying to say? And that would tell him, is it finished? Will that say, is it the whole story? Is it just the person? Is it, this still life with them? I mean, I remember that one where there's a still life over here, there's this white sheet going like this, and then behind him is this dark, beautiful material, and then over here is this bright thing. I mean, I couldn't believe all the things around this uh, figure and how he did it differently each time. And that's what's so interesting about this book, because I heard you too. You turn the page and you're like, oh, he
He
just,
was great at design, almost like he could have actually been an interior designer. How he would set up these little, big, middle, small shapes, but then also color patterns, but all leading you, like attaching you. He would never just have something in the center of the canvas kind of just floating. There would be even the smallest of brushwork that would like attach you, or a shape that would attach you to kind of anchor you to these four corners. Um,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just amazing. Totally
Let's
amazing.
look at the two pages we chose to talk
Let's
about.
see.
I
I
just
get
want
to
to give you a sneak
share.
peek because, and just to reiterate that Nancy and me, but shockingly, even Nancy didn't probably see a good, what, 60 to 80% of the artwork in this book. Like it was new to you because he was
Oh,
going
yes,
through his
exactly.
old files. I mean, a lot of this work is before you met him. So it was
Yeah.
before digital. It was all just in boxes and slides and 4x5 negatives. So let's talk about this because I did go ooh and ah when we were going through the book. And I said, oh, I love that bow one. Because one of the main things that I was so inspired by Richard was the way he would use dry media. And when I talk to students, I would say it's painting with dry media, meaning you're not thinking about outlining, you're thinking about mass. And also just how to have mystery and how to kind of use like the powder and the staining of the paper to lead you through the background. And also, it looks like in the shirt, he was using like a different technique. It almost looks like he was using some kind of crumpled, maybe paper or some kind of blot, maybe a splatter or some kind of technique to create this sort of lace, like you said.
It really does. And I wish he would have written about that. It does. It looks like he used could have been, this is on paper. It could have been possibly acetone or something. I remember he would use that for certain effects. He was always using something so new. And just like with his you'll see so many Contes in the book. He that's when he wanted to do make his monochrome oils look like Contes. So he experimented and experimented on that. But yeah, just how simple. I mean, and you don't even see the face. And I think he was in those days. I don't think many people would have thought of doing something like this.
Mm. And right,
Beautiful.
you look at the edges in the profile and
Yeah.
how, the edges disappear into the background.
Yeah.
And also one thing that I notice, because a lot of times when you first start off with drawing, you tend to only do like just charcoal or just one color like Conte. But we see here that there's a little bit of this sort of brown and black. And that's like the next step too, is to have these varieties of sometimes like a warm and cool right next to each other, which bumps it up a notch,
Yeah.
And so seeing that little bit of warm come through too is just so delightful.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's yeah, yeah. And this is just one of the many. I mean, just because I always, when I think of Sue, I think of drawing a lot. And I was just like, another drawing. I always think of her going through the whole book.
Yeah, and you
So,
see the brushwork in these portraits, and so you can see the lineage from his drawings to the oils. And so these were done at the palette and chisel, and you have the years under the paintings. And so a lot of the paintings were done at the palette and chisel, and some were done in Colorado, and some were done in Putney, and some were done even way before you knew him. So it's just way too many. Now, these would have all been done from life and would have been done from like north light, meaning cool light, warm shadows. Um, I mean, just beyond it just the fact that you could paint like this from life and get such masterpieces. Um, so do you even have any memories? Because you were painting right next to him at these times.
oh, I have memories of so many of these. Yes. I mean, and I painted these people, and and I just wanted to say that this book, Portrait and Figure Paintings, got so big that he started a second volume, and that is a third to a half of the way done. And it's going to be about these mainly Palette and Chisel, Loveland, and Village Arts, the three places we moved to and painted for life. And yeah, so there's another whole book that's going to be done. And I sat next to him. So it'll be fun to get other people from the Pal and Chisel to kind of remember what was going on. He was just, and he would do these, you were there 3 hours, once in a while, the 5 hours on Sunday, but most of these were done in 3 hours. And
Mhm.
it
Yeah, I
was,
wish. So this was right before I joined the Palette. I think I joined probably 1990 or maybe at the very, very end of 89. And I remember, you know, I was beyond me. It was like watching, Beethoven, compose because I was so beginner that I remember watching him paint and it really did, I think, like bring me to a halt. Like my mind couldn't compute. Like I do remember, like I just couldn't compute what was happening. Like how does somebody know how to put a brushstroke here and one next to it and then one on top of it and then it just all of a sudden turn into something. Um, so
yeah,
I wish so much, I could watch, paint next to him now and have a little bit more knowledge because I felt so completely, it was all over my head. And the North Light is very, very soft, especially at the palette and chisel. So you had to squint. Like there weren't really strong shadows like a lot of us learn in art school. And so it's all about these subtle, subtle changes, right? And
mhm,
but you guys were just so incredible. And yeah, you painted all the time and that's how you got good. You were like it was your job, like every day, painting all day, and you just dedicated your life to it.
yeah, and yeah, it was like watching Bach or Beethoven play. It was just incredible how he brought this together in 3 hours, which was unheard of in those days, and one after the other. And we have many of them here, and we are going to have this big show at the Pell and Chisel in 2026 in October.
So
And bring out,
so for anybody that doesn't know, the Palette and Chisel is an art club. It's an old brownstone in the Gold Coast of Chicago. And it's where I met Nancy and my husband Scott Burdick, and it's where Richard Schmid painted. And so you are planning on a kind of a retrospective show slash maybe demonstrations and possibly other type of things too. And this is October 2026. Because
yeah,
each year you want to celebrate Richard on his birthday, which is October 5th. So October is sort of is celebrating Richard month, right? And each year you do something a little bit different. And so I just want everyone to sign up for your newsletter because you will always be offering things, either talks, lectures, online, marathons, so you are always having something that people can get inspired by. And if you want, you can travel to Chicago and be there in person and see the paintings in person.
yeah, next year it's going to be really great. It'll be a whole month of learning. We'll keep it there for a whole month. There'll be things. I'm going to make a catalog, a learning catalog. You're going to be there, Scott, Dan, Rose, CJ, Clayton, and more. And I usually always do it that first weekend of October. This year, I think it's going to be on the 4th. It'll be a Zoom. But next year will be our
So this
travel.
year, though, people can join you for something.
Yeah.
So just this year, 2025, you guys can join Nancy for something
Yeah.
in October. And
Yes. Yes. And our website just came out yesterday and it's richardschmidfoundation.org.
also, there's two different websites.
Yes, one is the store. Soon we'll be combining, but there's one, the store, richardschmid.com. And we just have the new foundation. The foundation is finally up and running. Uh,
This one looks pretty good.
So your foundation is going to be going to different conferences, and you might be able to meet Molly in person, or people that work with you and maybe you in the future.
Uh-huh.
Um, but anybody that is, I mean, of course, I truly think that this book is going to blow people away. And you
Yeah.
can't do pre-orders, but on May 20th, you said go to
Thank
your
you.
website and order it. Do you
Richard
have,
Schmid.
and so it's only going to be hardcover, right? For now.
Right now, hardcover. Yeah, we're getting the soft cover should be out. I don't know, maybe in a month after that.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah. And I just really like what you said and how much you can learn from it. And I hope to do something about the book too. We might do that on the Richard Schmid, celebrating Richard Schmid this October. Talk about that book. And of course, Alla Prima. So
Yeah, I
there's
mean, Richard has multiple books, and of course, the his most famous book is Alla Prima that he did in, was it 1999?
1999, I believe, or 98. I think that 98 we got married. 99 was the book, I think. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
once you, if anyone hasn't familiar with Richard, once you go to those websites, you might, yeah, it's going to be a deep dive of like books and videos and everything offering fine art, and if you might just, I don't know, mind might explode, honestly.
I know it is pretty interesting because as you do the book, it's like then there's a chapter. Oh, here's one on people and landscapes. Whoa. It's just always a surprise. And always, I think, something you can go back and keep learning. Yeah. So,
No, Richard has influenced so many people, and Scott and I talk about you and Richard as incredible influences to us all the
uh,
time. I mean, it's nonstop, really, because everyone's always asking us, well, who were you influenced by, or who are your favorite artists? And I always say Nancy Guzik and Richard Schmid. And I think it's amazing too how, I mean, just people from all over the world, like India, China, South America. It's universal. Like once people see the artwork, it's like they understand. You don't
yeah,
have to explain it.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Worldwide, and it's just so wonderful that all of us artists, it's just so wonderful because there's no competition. When you learned the fundamentals and then really go and paint from your heart, which can be scary sometimes, but when you paint who you are, it just comes out and the world needs this so much. So um, um, Richard always would say, and that's his logo, art has the power to do good. It really does. It can uplift, it can change your life, it has so much power to do good that what we're doing is really important. And it's fun to keep learning from each other. So that's what the foundation's about. Richard started it before we went up there, and we finally got it going. And you'll see our events, and we'll be getting more and more wonderful things. So yeah, we'll keep you posted.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I can't wait for people to see this book, and I can't wait to see it. Oh my God. All right. Thank you for doing this, Nancy. I appreciate it so much.
You bet. Thank you, Sue, for inspiring the world with your art, and Scott too.
Thanks.
Okay.